All right, One Pride Nation. The Detroit Lions lose another coach as defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn heads to New York to be the head coach for the Jets. Let's talk about it. Well, not a surprise. Aaron Glenn hired by the New York Jets. My gut told me that either the Jets or the Saints is where he would go, but we know that he was headed that way. According to ESPN, New York Jets coach Aaron Glenn needs no introduction. Not to Jets fans. From 94 to '01, Glenn was a Jet, selected number 12 pick in the 1994 draft. The scrappy corner from Texas A&M had a type of unstable experience with the franchise that he tends to end as this new head coach. I'm scrolling down in the article a little bit. It says Glenn knows what it means to be a Jet, to deal with the media circus and filter all criticism. He's as equipped to deal with the scrutiny as any 15-year NFL vet should be. That career length ties Jim Harbaugh for the longest playing career of any current head coach. Let's talk about Aaron Glenn a little bit. He came in with Dan Campbell in 2021, and 2021 was a rough year for my Lions, but we knew that it would be because they were in the midst of a rebuild. In 2022, the defense still hadn't started to gel yet. A lot of Lions fans was calling for Aaron Glenn's head the second year, but much to our surprise, our boys fell one game short of making the playoffs in 2022. Now, I want to let all you other football fans know something. We weren't expecting the Lions to even make the playoffs in 2022, and they end up one game short. If I remember, it was the Rams Seahawks game. It was that game, but I don't remember who it was. One of those teams needed to win in order for the Lions to get into the playoffs if they beat the Packers. Whoever it was we needed, they did not win, but we still beat the Packers in Aaron Rodgers' last game there and stopped them from getting in the playoffs. But we also did not get in the playoffs. So the Lions were ahead of schedule. A lot of Lions fans were upset because the defense hadn't improved, but a lot of these Lions fans who were upset with Aaron Glenn didn't realize that a couple of things. First is that Aaron Glenn needs particular players to run his type of defense. Second, when Patricia was there, we used to be a 4-3 defense. When Patricia came in, he changed us to a 3-4 defense. And now Aaron Glenn is coming in, and Aaron Glenn coming from New Orleans, they run a 4-3 defense. So Aaron Glenn was coming in trying to run a 4-3 defense with with players who were in the 3-4. So he had to get his players in there. But in 2023, we saw the defense start to develop. The Lions make the playoffs. They get farther than even we expected, and Aaron Glenn's defense is really starting to show its stride in 2024. To me, Aaron Glenn had one of the best defenses in the NFL until all the injuries hit. I know. Some of you don't want to hear about the injuries, but let's not be silly. When key players are missing, a team is going to struggle. Take baseball for example. If you have five solid starting pitchers, let's say you have one great and four solid starting pitchers, and then your great starting pitcher and one of the four solid starting pitchers are injured, they're done for the season. Guess what? Your rotation is going to be hurt. It's not an excuse. It's just the fact that it's not going to be the same. So was the case with Aaron Glenn. He lost his best pass rusher. He lost his second best pass rusher. He lost he lost one of his top, if not his top, or definitely a top two defensive tackle. He lost his leader and middle linebacker, or I should say outside linebacker, in Anzalone for a good chunk of the season. He lost his best and starting corner, and he lost some other key backup linebackers, backup safety. I mean, guys were just falling all over the place, and Aaron Glenn somehow still kept it together. Let's read on a little bit and see what it says here about Aaron Glenn. It says, I'll skip down here. It says, a defender at the turn of the century couldn't ask for a better curriculum than to play under Parcells, Belichick, Capers, Fangio, and Zimmer. So they're still talking about Aaron Glenn. I'm just kind of scrolling through this article. It said he was a technician. That's what Don Caper says. Glenn was coaching Houston from '02 to '04. He not only knew what to do, but he was very involved in the basics of how to do it. They still talk about him as a player. I'm just trying to scroll down and see if they say anything about him being a coach. It says Let's go down here. It says Glenn's influences and why he was afforded patience. In 2021, when Glenn was hired to be the first time coordinator under first time knee biting head coach uh, for a joke, franchise harboring no national hype or lofty expectation, the eyes of the world were not yet on the Lions. The first day I went to Detroit, we looked at all the cut ups that he had when he was in secondary coach at in New Orleans, said Capers, whom Glenn hired as a senior defensive assistant. He had everything cut up from a technique standpoint, from a scheme standpoint. It was all right there on his computer. He just kind of talking and giving Aaron Glenn his props. This article basically looks like it's just going on to kind of talk about what he did. Back up here, it talks about Glenn had 4 years as the Lions defensive coordinator, and his personnel changed dramatically. The only players who took significant snaps on both the 24 and 21 units were players who were acquired in 21 during Glenn's first season, which is true. And I talked about some of those players. So, Lions fans, what do you think? Are you let me ask you this. Are some of you happy to see Aaron Glenn gone? Did some of you think that maybe he did not do the job that you thought he would do, or he didn't get the job done? Or are some of you like me where you're happy for the time he spent here and that you believe that he did make the defense better? And what do you think about Aaron Glenn, the head coach? Now, I've heard some Lions fans say that they really think that Aaron Glenn is going to be a better head coach than a defensive coordinator. I even heard some Lions fans say that they think that he will be a better head coach than Ben Johnson. But guess what? That remains to be seen. But I would like your thoughts on that. What do you think about Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Lions? And what do you think about Aaron Glenn, the head coach for the New York Jets? All right, people, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking Lions football and anything else that we're talking about over here on the Lions Den. You see our TikTok right there on the screen. Give us a follow over there, and scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you see our Twitter/X page. Just want to get in here and get some thoughts on Aaron Glenn on his way out the door from Detroit to New York. That's all I got for this one. Until next time, peace.